It's 2046 on the 11th of August, and I'm uploading for the purpose of the ulterior, contradictory intention to safeguard and protect my identity from neurotic, mentally disturbed uh, professionals that are actually putting their lives at risk. Um, it's not really safe when people walk into people's homes. It's like a robbery. It's like going into a bank and not wearing a balaclava or not carrying a weapon and just saying, I want all the cash from behind the bar or the cashier or the till or whatever. Um, in these circumstances, Tralee County Kerry seems to think it has a right of way deciding, designating, and making decisions, really being over the top and overly rude, and really showing to the world how powerless and unmanageable the level of ignorance is in these circumstances. Now, first and foremost, I work with Royal Protocol in all my transactions. Royal Protocol is above the law. That means the Garda Síochána do not have autonomy in circumstances with me. The Garda Síochána have already gotten themselves affected and offended Royal Protocol while facilitating the party scene here in Tralee, County Kerry for over nearly 15 years. Now, the Garda Síochána know that I'm Royal Protocol. Well, they should know, and if they don't know, they need to know. There are also former presidents and Taoiseach in this country that are of my bloodline. Now, there's a very dangerous issue with regard to my forefathers having represented and led this country. Now, the issue that I have is with people of poor productions already insulting the arts and culture and heritage. Now, I have experienced creative intellectual property theft, and I'm aware there's con artists that have used their bodies and so on and so forth to do some business and bargaining. But unfortunately, I work with a bit of a hierarchy that is more complex and more entwined with very important procedures. So I'm aware that these bad PR stunts of those utilizing other assets than my farms are still very neurotic about my property, creative, intellectual, and my farm holdings. Now, they've insulted my child's upbringing and they don't seem to understand about where they're overstepping the line and who they're making dissatisfied or disgruntled. And they've upset so many people already in this community, and they're still in my proximity, and I don't know if they know they're very unwelcome. I don't authorise them to be in my proximity. I'm above the Garda Síochána. I'm of crime prevention. I'm of whether they come to terms with the reality or not, working with fraud or forgery or false reporting about my authenticity and the origins of COVID-19 and Brexit. Anyone that wants to lie through their teeth and put legislation at risk, I've no problem with people putting their, heads on the guillotine to offend my royal titles. But we've seen the consequences of their actions already. So people that are offending me are only offending their children's safety. As I've mentioned, I have affiliations with organisations that are really spiritually evolved, and I've been with them for nearly 20 years now. It's really cheeky and ignorant. It's the height of ignorance. I've not seen such deplorable, ignorant behaviour of individuals with their noses stuck in people's marital lives. Anyone that's ignorant enough to be discussing other people's marital arrangements, the cheek of it. How I spend my time and how I do what I do when I'm doing what I'm doing is no one else's business. And these ASBOs are so ignorant. They don't even know when they've overstepped the line, and they're not recognised even by, regular standards, never mind being recognised by royal protocol. So those that are offending family and friends that are enjoying legislation from me might be careful about the words that they've been choosing and working with and publicising in their bad PR. Now, I've been with the organisations and establishments that I refer to with over 20 years, and worldwide legislation by poor PR stunts and those utilising poor assets, plastic assets, candidates might be careful about the hours of blood, sweat, and tears put into worldwide legislation while offending my family unit that they have perverted the privacy of. These people have corrupted the judiciary and the justice system and the legal system locally and nationally to discuss and purvey property and family life that I did not authorize them to. So it's very dangerous what's happened. These people have deluded themselves with regard to personal records, church records. They have put legislation that I've brought into existence as a consequence of my research at high risk. I can't say that there's going to be success from any of that legislation. I do not support people monetizing or frauding from my academic research while I suffer as bows in a one bedroom apartment where I'm experiencing damages, harms, and losses, and people disturbing the peace while I'm trying to heal. These people have been really ignorant about their preoccupations and their neurosis of the mind, discussing my marital life where I have not invited them. These people have suffered from mental illness, and we know that agrarian life is associated with mental illness, but farm fraud, those have, oh, it's so upsetting to see how people have damaged their well-being to covet from my farms. It's really bad that they've caused so much upset and disruption to my family unit, my little child, and my husband and I, to be so destructive for our farms. It's disgraceful, the bigamy, it's disgraceful, the adultery, and it's disgraceful, the child harm, and it's disgraceful, the debt I'm owed from my church vows. So any women out there that are smart, intelligent, bright, you know, that are aware of the attempts of these harmonizing spiritual wannabes, they might be careful about harmonizing with anything contrary to progress that is disrespectful to holy matrimony and the vows of family and faith. These people in County Kerry have a mental illness and they're stalking me and they're not welcome on my farms and they're making more casualties and deaths. So could the guards kind of do what they're supposed to do before County Kerry experiences more ASBO casualties? Because really my farms are the last place on the earth that these people are going to ever be welcome for offending my good name or forever associating my name and my farms and my family with the filth and fraud that they've conducted in this community and that they have broadcasted, I might add. So the Department of Agriculture might get a heads up about this matter as well. If this continues, anyone trespassing on my properties in Artfort and Kiflin are taking their life into their hands. So please treat your mental illnesses regarding any property fraud. It's really unhealthy, unwise, and unsafe. If my child's not located, I can't say what could happen to the children of the Gardaí Síochána. This establishment that they represent have already experienced awful circumstances that I commiserate them for. But that's what happens when people don't do their jobs properly. So justice, agriculture, family protection, etc., IMORAL protocol, and the Taoiseach that have led this country from my ancestral records and from my family names, I'm sure are finding this situation in the democracy really a sad sign of the times. So those with any honourability or shred of dignity or respect might cast a moment's thought on how things are done properly in the professional world without frauding or failing on people's names and holding everyone's name in good place and in position with dignity and respect. People that have upset the family unit of my husband, my child, and I with their obstruction and theft and fraud are really in very dangerous breach of the law. So that's as much as I have to say for now. Anyone antagonising or disturbing the peace or threatening the peace might be careful of their debts they owe me and their actions that have offended my family and my farms and my faith. There's been a lot of monetisation and exploitation. So I hope the guards are on the right side of the law this time. As I've said, a lot of blood, sweat and tears went into all that academic research that brought about COVID-19. I'm an academic and a humanitarian. So those of fraud and forgery putting their name to legislation that actually originates with my experiences, strengths, and hopes for this country and humanitarianism are putting it all at high risk. So, this is for the interest of the European Court that I've been contacting since 2019. There are people with mental illness preoccupied with property they're not safe on and that they're not welcome on, that are also guilty of child harm and farm fraud and legislation issues also. So I'm contending with a world of troubles with a smile on my face and a tooth missing that the government still has to compensate for. That is a very expensive tooth loss that €200 job seekers allowance isn't going to recompense the issue with. So those that have any shame for their conduct might think of the dignity of their children. It's the children that always get the brunt of the burnout from these circumstances, and it's appalling. So please don't put children's lives at risk with ASBO ruling the roost and putting the society at risk with neuroses that haven't been treated by mental health frauds. People that are preoccupying themselves with what they don't own need to take ownership of their mental illness, and they need to clean up their act and pay up their debts. It's disgusting what's going on in this county since 2006. So on that note, I hope the Garda Síochána are on the right side of the law.